Hello and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard list review. Today's list was sent in by Setter, not sure how to pronounce it unfortunately, and they are both 1850 point army lists with mostly Imperial Guard, although there is an Imperial Knight added to both lists. I assume that both lists are part of a CAD, it's not specified, but there's no other way that you could run this list. It's not mentioned. If it's not mentioned as a formation, I'm going to assume it's a CAD when you guys send these lists in. Okay, drink of water, and off we go. So, the first list was one that Setter said he made before he listened to my videos, and the second one was one he made after he listened to my videos. And it's going to be interesting to see the differences and what impact my videos had, but also whether the changes he made were actually appropriate. I mean, his first list may not be pure infantry, but it may still, may still synergize, it may still work. But without further ado, we'll go through the lists and we'll see if there's any major issues with them. So, list number one, before listening to Mordian Glory's battle videos. HQ choice number one, company command squad with a lascannon team. A tank commander in a Leman Russ with Pask, Leman Russ Punisher, should I say. So it's tank commander Pask in a Leman Russ Punisher with Multimelta sponsons, hull mounted lascannon, pintle mounted heavy stubber, and camo netting. Buddy tank has a Leman Russ Punisher with Multimeltas, lascannon, and camo netting. One Enginseer with one servitor with a servo-arm. One Primaris psyker level 1. 5 stormtroopers with double melta. Infantry platoon with 3 infantry squads. Each squad has a lascannon and a special weapons squad as well with 3 meltas. A veteran squad in a chimera with 2 meltas and carapace armor. 1 stock Vendetta. 1 Wyvern with camo netting. 1 Aegis defense line. And 1 knight paladin with stormspear rocket pod. Okay. So straight away, I'm looking at this list. And there's some things that are jumping out at me and I'm going, things I'm not entirely certain about. The first one, many of you will be surprised at this. I'm going to say the company command squad. Okay? You've taken a company command squad, but the only upgrade you've given it is a lascannon team, which essentially means you're paying 80 points for a lascannon on Ballistic Skill 4. Is that, that doesn't seem very points efficient to me. You've only got 1 platoon, which is going to be ordered around. You've got your 1 platoon, but you've got no way of blobbing the platoon up effectively because you haven't got a commissar. You need Primaris psykers. They may be leadership 9, but they are not going to keep your guys in line. If you're not going to take a commissar, at the very least you need a Primaris psyker and a regimental standard, so you get a reroll leadership 9, which is still not actually all that reliable. So you've got no real way of blobbing up your squads, and the company command squad is, so your company command squad's orders aren't going to be dished out very efficiently. And it's, what you're expecting with that company command squad? That's what you've got to ask yourself. Is it going to sit there, putting out 1 shot a turn? Is that the best use of that company command squad? I don't think so. Tank commander. Leman with Pask, Punisher. Okay, I love Pask and a Punisher. The melta, sponsons, and the whole mounted lascannon. Kind of, they kind of make sense. You're sort of making Pask an anti-tank platform. Okay, I dig it. The Punisher, ironically, with Pask in it, also I should say surprisingly, it's normally a anti-infantry option, but the moment you put Pask in it, it becomes anti-tank. I understand this. You're going to rend things to death. So why have you added the heavy stubber? Heavy stubber doesn't benefit from any of past rules, so that's 5 points wasted. Okay, unfortunately. Sorry, I know this is being very critical, but I want you to get the best out of your lists. So the heavy stubber, I wouldn't bother with the heavy stubber. The camo netting, that's entirely up to you whether you take that or not. I personally don't normally bother, but that is not something I would, if you like camo netting or if you've modelled it with camo netting, then that's fine. So the only thing I'd say there is get rid of the heavy stubber. You don't need it when you've got. If you take and put a Pask in a Punisher with all heavy bolters, and then add a heavy stubber on, I'd be like, okay, I understand where we're coming from. Ultimate anti-infantry, I like it. His buddy, you've also given him multimeltas, lascannons, and camo netting, and he's in a Punisher. If you're going down the anti-tank route, why have you given the buddy Punisher? Why have you given the buddy tank, I should say, a Punisher cannon? Because that doesn't get rending. So it's you know you're not gaining anything from that. I would switch out that Punisher to a exterminator with lascannons and camo netting, because the exterminator is 4 shots, it's twin linked, and it's strength 7. Its strength 7 is just enough for you to class as having an anti-tank weapon. Okay? I mean, I am skeptical about the lascannon and the multimelta sponsons, because that's only 3 shots, and you're not going to hit with very many of them, but I understand why you've put them on the tank, because you want it to be all the anti-tank firepower you can get. That being the case, you need to change this up to an exterminator. Enginseer with 1 servitor and a servo-arm. I just wouldn't take it. Straight up. Straight up wouldn't take it. That is 50 points of tax right there that you do not need to take. If you're going to take an Enginseer, you take it with 4 servitors, because each servitor gives you +1 on the roll to repair your tank, which means if you have a Enginseer with 4 servitors, you are auto repairing a hull point. That's good. 1 servitor means you've got a 50-50 chance. It's not worth it. You're paying 50 points and that's only half the time going to go off. Not worth it. With tempestus Enginseers, you either go the whole hog and you invest in the points, or you go completely bare bones. Don't try and mess around in between. Primaris psyker level 1. Don't take a level 1. Take level 2. Okay? Level 1 Primaris psyker is never going to generate enough warp charge dice to actively get off any powers that you want. Trust me. You're going to go for prescience. You're going to want to stick him in the lascannon blob. I understand your thinking, but 1 level 1 psyker is not going to be enough. You need to make, if you want to guarantee to get that prescience off of your turn, you need to make him level 2, and maybe even add in an astropath as a battery, as just an extra warp charge. And then you start off with 3 warp dice, which means if you get that goddamn 1 on your warp dice, for that turn, then you still get 4 to start with, which means you can still got a good chance of getting your prescience off. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. I tell you now, a basic Primaris psyker level 1 is never worth it. Go level 2 or go home. 5 tempestus scions with 2 meltas. Like it. No criticisms. That unit has a clear focus. It's going to drop in. It's going to cause hell. Moving on. Infantry platoon with 3 infantry squads with a lascannon and a special weapon squad with 3 meltas. Why are you paying for the special weapon squad? Put those meltas in the platoon. I know what you're thinking. You want to drop the special weapon squad out the back of the Vendetta. I know what you're thinking. But that's a bad idea. Okay. It's a bad idea because you're paying. You've already got. Think of how much anti-tank you have in this list at the moment. Okay. You've got Punishers. You've got Multimeltas. You've got lascannons. You've got tempestus scions with melta guns. You've got 3 infantry squads with lascannons. Those 3 meltas dropping out. You've got a Vendetta. You've got chimera 2 meltas. That special weapon squad. You're paying again unnecessary points. We've got to squeeze every point, squeeze every penny out of your guard. It's what 35 points or 40 points. I don't even know how much special weapon squad is. It's just too many points. Stick those meltas in your infantry squads. Save yourself some points. You already are absolutely chock-a-block on anti-tank. You're already filled up to the gills with anti-tank. Honestly, you don't need to drop another squad out the back of your Vendetta. You might as well save yourself some points. Keep the melta guns, but stick them in your infantry squads. Okay? Veteran squad with chimera, 2 meltas and grenadier upgrade. I like it. I'm not a big fan of veteran squad and chimeras. My only concern is you've only got the one squad, which means your opponent will easily identify what's in it, will easily go, oh shit, melta vets, and will blow you up. So my only concern is you've not taken enough, but on its own, that squad isn't bad. You've only taken 2 meltas, I understand, because you're only going to be able to fire 2 weapons at the top patch. You've taken the grenadier upgrade for the carapace armor. I kind of understand. I understand where you're going with that. Vendetta, bare bones, no complaints. Wyvern with camo netting, no complaints. Aegis fence line with no upgrades. I understand you're going to want to stick your platoon behind there. Okay, no complaints. Knight paladin with stormspear rocket pod. What can I say? It's an Imperial knight. It's going to walk around. It's going to stomp the shit out of things. It's generally quite a good unit. No real complaints to the Knight Paladin. It's got a double shot battle cannon. It's a good all rounder. You've got the D sword, and you've got the extra crack rockets coming out the top. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty solid choice. It's a good all round unit, that. So you can tell that I'm not a big fan of your first list. Okay, sorry. I hope I'm not ripping your list to shreds and it's upsetting you. But your first list, you've got a lot of unnecessary shit in there. Okay, I would almost, you're paying for things that you don't need to pay for. Okay, but we've gone through that unit by unit. I hope you understand. So I would not recommend your first list. Okay, I think it's got some inefficiencies in it, and honestly I don't think it's got enough infantry in it. Personally, I would say you haven't got enough of anything. You haven't got enough tanks to make it a tank list. You haven't got enough infantry to make it an infantry list. Not so hot on the first list. Let's see what the second list comes. Hopefully my videos have provided some insight. So, it's a CAD. First unit, company command squad plus lascannon team plus regimental standard. Okay, I like it. Just one side note, just be careful on your points costs here, because I think you're under costing things, because I've just noticed you've got a company command squad with a lascannon team and a regimental standard, but I'm pretty certain the regimental standard is 15 points, not 10. So you've only charged yourself 95 points, but I think you should be charging 90 points, but I think you should be 95 points there. Just be careful. My bit of advice: just be careful with your points costs. Just checking another one of those here. Yeah, I think you're really off with your points costs here. I definitely think you should double check this. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that too much. I think you're off with your points. But anyway, company command squad with lascannon team and regimental standard. Good, much better. I understand where you're coming with that now. Tank commander with Pask will do the same thing. Same unit, get rid of the heavy stubber on Pask. Make his buddy an exterminator. Okay. Primaris psyker level 1, 50 points, times 2. So you've got 2 from level 1 Primaris psykers. You already know what I'm going to say. Make them level 2s or go home. They're not worth it. 5 scions with 2 meltas. I like it. 2 infantry platoons. 1 with 3 squads with 3 lascannons. 1 3 squads with 3 autocannons. I like it. It's a bit better, that. Although again, what you're planning on using to keep them staying around? You're relying on the leadership 9 psyker. I'd invest in some priests. A couple of priests to go with the psykers. Vendetta, 170 points. Wyvern with camo netting, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So what you've essentially done here is you've swapped out the veterans and your Enginseer for another squad. Okay. That's fine. I like it. I don't see any problems with it. I think that list's better. However, I'm going to say You either take level 2 Primaris psykers or you go home. You also need to take some way of making those blobs fearless. It's a very both lists you've sent in are very balanced, and I like that. But I definitely think there's some room for improvement. So out of the two, just off the top of my head, out of the two lists that you proposed, straight away I'm going to say the second one. You've got a lot more infantry in there for defending your home objectives. It's a lot more synergized. There's no wasted points. There's no random Enginseer. You can still save points though. You could dump all the camo netting. Also, you got to ask yourself, is a single Wyvern really going to make a big difference? If you're relying on a single Wyvern to be all your anti-infantry, that's not necessarily the best idea. But second list is definitely an improvement. If you don't have time to go out and change things up or buy new models or whatever, I understand if you just had to take this list tomorrow. I know you've got, you said you've got a tournament coming up. If you had to take this list tomorrow, I'd take the second one. Okay? Hands down. If you've got time to improve things, number one, get yourself a couple of commissars. Make your Primaris psykers level 2. How would I do this? Okay, well, I would dump the camo netting off all 3 of your vehicles and your heavy stubber. Straight away, you get 2 priests. Priests or commissars. If you're going to dump the Primaris psykers and just get rid of them, take some commissars. If you're going to keep the Primaris psykers, take priests. The last thing you want is your priests to your commissars to blow the brains out of your Primaris psykers due to it's for your own good. Special rule. So you need to save. That's how you get your 2 priests in there. If you want to make them level 2, you need. My advice would be you'll save 10 points. Save 10 points. Dropping the Punisher down to an exterminator. I'd probably also recommend dumping the Aegis defense line, to be honest. I don't know what you haven't got enough infantry to really make use of it. You need a fucking ton of infantry to really get the best out of an Aegis defense line. And there's so much. It's a tough one, but I think you're making your Primaris psykers level 2 is almost a secondary concern. Although when you think about it, let me give you here's one bit of advice. Why are you taking 2 level 1s? If you take 1 level 2, that gives you 2 warp charge dice, but you save 25 points. Look at that. I'd have saved 25 points, yet I have not taken anything away from the list. You could then use that 25 points to buy yourself an astropath for your company command squad. That means for the same, correct me if I'm wrong, no, for the same number of points, for 100 points, you have doubled the amount of warp charges you're fielding. You've got a level 1 and a level 2. Well, not quite double. Increased by 50%, sorry. You've increased the number of warp charges by 50%. That makes a lot more sense. Another way of looking at it, if you dump both Primaris psykers, you save yourself 100 points. Guess what? You can buy Coty Heads. He's a level 2 Primaris psyker who has a fucking demon hammer and a 2+ armor save. That's much better. So, just a quick summary to go over both lists, to go over each list just to summarize. I would take list 2 over list 1. Double check your points. I don't know, but I'm just looking at it. It feels like you're slightly over, but in the gist of what you've put onto your list is good. List 2 just synergizes much better. It just feels a lot better. You haven't got any random units in there. It just feels better. If you had to go to the tournament tomorrow, list 2 would do you okay. If you've got time to improve things, I'm not even going to talk about list 1 anymore. List 1 was just nowhere near as good as list 2. List 2, if you've got time to improve things, there's a few ways you can make your list more efficient. Drop some heavy stubbers, drop some camo netting, make your 2 Primaris psykers at level 1, 1 Primaris psyker which is level 2, blah blah blah. I've already gone over it. So list 2 is good, but there's still room for improvement. You need to look at your list again and say, where am I spending points that I don't need to spend them? You know, where are the list inefficiencies? And off the top of my head, I can see random heavy stubber. I can see, you know, Primaris psykers, you know, inefficiently points there. I can see, you know, random age defense line. I can see a camo netting Wyvern. Okay, honestly, the camo netting on the Wyvern kind of makes sense, but in general, if something's going to shoot a Wyvern, camo netting's not going to save its ass. Some people swear by it, some people don't. I'll leave that up to you. So I hope this video is useful for you, setter. I hope it was. I hope I haven't upset you by ripping your lists apart a little bit, and I hope you found what I've said useful. Just, if you take one thing away from this video, squeeze every point. Don't have anything inefficient in your points, in your lists, okay? You are guard. You do not have the luxury of taking random upgrades. Every point must be well spent. Thank you for sending your list in. If anyone else wants to send their list in to me, feel free. I will gratefully accept all lists sent in to me, and I will look over them and I will give you the best possible feedback that I can. Maybe you won't always like what I have to say, but I will always be honest with you, okay? And I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope you all found it useful. Thank you for watching.